Welcome to Keto Works, where I believe that if done properly, a low-carb lifestyle is not only healthy, but it is sustainable long-term and not at all restrictive. So I've been saying that in the past couple of videos, and I just want to talk a little bit more about why I'm doing this, why I'm on this channel, and it will be a little bit better than my first video. Welcome to my first video. Hopefully. I have had some success with this ketogenic diet for a while now, for a year. And what I look to accomplish with this channel is not to make it big, not to do anything like that. You look low carb recipes, ketogenic recipes on YouTube or Instagram, you can see a lot of people doing this. And by no means do I think I'm gonna surpass any of them. The reason I am here is because way back when I did lose 50 and I gained it all back, I know I have to commit to something, and this is my way of committing. This is me trying to learn different recipes, trying to learn more of the science behind keto, more of why this works and how it can work for other people. There's a quote saying that if you can't teach it, then you don't know it well enough. So this is me trying to learn it well enough for me to be able to teach other people how to follow this and just expand my base, right? I found a little bit of a passion while I was cooking and meal prepping, and I think that this is a route that I want to take, if not for the long term, for the near future, right? So in today's video, I am talking about why does keto work? And this is the complete unscientific version, completely anecdotal, but it is going to talk about some science. It is going to be some of my experiences throughout the past year. So why do I say the completely unscientific version? Is because, well, I've never been great at research papers. I have never compiling the information and citing and looking through journals and scientific journals and all that. But I am trying to learn, so this will be something of everything I've read in the past year, all the videos I've watched and articles and things like that, but there won't be any citations because I'm not going to quote anything specific or talk about any type of trial or clinical studies, anything like that. I have been in this lifestyle for the past 8 years. Even though keto and low carb has only been the past year, I lost 50 pounds back like 7 years ago now, and ever since I've been working on learning more about different diets. I've been vegan for a little bit. I was in that, what do you call it, bodybuilders diet, where you eat 5 times a day, protein shakes, chicken and broccoli, and understanding more and more workouts. So over those past few years, I've picked up a lot of information. So I just want to say quickly, why is it that a ketogenic diet actually works? Touch upon a little bit of the science and a little bit of the reasons why you shouldn't be scared or shouldn't listen to all the critics, because they might not be giving you the full picture. The basics is that when you go onto a ketogenic diet, you are trying to restrict the carbs that you intake so that your body can run off its own fat stores and the fat that you are consuming. And that does not happen until you restrict your carbs to 5%, 10%. A good number to start is under 50 grams, and until you find your own number. When you do restrict your carbs to that low level, it will take a few days, it might take a few weeks, depending on how accustomed you are to actually eating carbs. That will determine how long it takes you to become fat adapted, to become keto adapted. But once that happens, you are no longer going to be tied to the last thing that you ate. A reason why carbs and refined carbs and sugars and all that, they have you want to eat very soon, because once you go through it, now your body has nothing to go off of. It's trying to look for more carbs, which makes you hungry, it makes you look for more food. But on the other side, when you restrict your carbs and your body learns how to use its own fat for energy, now you have almost an unlimited supply, right? Well, for me, 75 pounds ago, it had a lot of fat to work off of. So that is the point of trying to produce ketones, is that your body and your liver is going to start producing these things called ketones from your fat stores, from the nutrition that it is getting, and that is what your body's going to run off and produce energy from that. With that being said, that is one of the two reasons why, well, there are multiple reasons why, but from what I'm going to talk about, those are two reasons why a keto diet works for people trying to lose weight. Because when you are running off your own fat, you don't need to consume as much as you once did, because running off of carbs, your energy level is going to empty the tank sooner or later, and then you're going to have to refill. But going off of fat, you don't technically have to do that, which is why it ties in so well with intermittent fasting, which I am going to touch upon in a little bit. And two, the reason why this works is mainly because of insulin and insulin resistance. Things that are high on the glycemic index, and there are certain foods which are mainly carbs, which are mainly sugars and things in that category that raise your insulin level, and then if you do it for a long period of time, it's going to increase your insulin resistance, and that is a primary cause of type 2 diabetes. So that is why this diet has been shown to reverse or make some of it a little bit more treatable if you do suffer from type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is a different story, because that is you not being able to produce insulin, not that you are insulin resistant. So talking about intermittent fasting and why this works with a ketogenic diet is that one of the biggest misconceptions about the intermittent fasting is that you have to do a lot more than what you're doing right now. If you take a typical eating window, what somebody is doing naturally is, if they have a 9-to-5 job, they'll eat breakfast before work at around 8, have lunch around 12, and eat dinner after work around 6. Let's just go with that, 8 to 6. That is a 14-hour fasting window, because you're only eating within 10 hours. And to start intermittent fasting, the floor of that is 16. So all you're doing is pushing that 2 hours. And you don't even have to skip breakfast if you don't want to. You just push your breakfast to 10 o'clock. Right? You just push your breakfast to 10 a.m. and you'll be completely within your 8-hour eating window. So that's one of the things that when you talk to people and say, oh, I can't do that, in actuality, that is something that we are already accustomed to. It's just now you're putting a name to it, but a lot of us do it unintentionally anyway, unless you're like eating at 8, 9, 10 or midnight snack, things like that. But we're talking about weight loss, and we understand that if we do want to lose weight, even if we are eating 5 times a day, we do want to restrict it in some way, because we don't want to be eating all the time. So for me personally, I eat 4 times within a 4-hour window, and you can eat 1 time a day, the OMAD, the 1 meal a day. I don't personally like that diet, but that's because I've tried it and it did not work for me. A lot of times it's just 2 meals. You skip one, skip either breakfast or dinner, or you just scale with your schedule. But I don't want to talk too much about intermittent fasting, because that's not what this video is about. I will discuss that in a future video. But the reason I am talking about it is because they run off the same principles, and that the benefit of keto is very much the same as the benefit of intermittent fasting, because it allows you to go longer periods of time without eating. And that is what your body is accustomed to. If you take it back to the days of when we probably didn't have food available at all given times of day, we were hunters, we were gatherers, and we had to go longer periods of time without knowing where our meals are coming from, or it just wasn't readily available. We as humans are designed to go long periods of time without food. And that is what we're getting into. When you go to sleep and you're fasting technically for 8-9 hours, it's no longer going to control your schedule, no longer going to control your life. After a while, I know I've experienced it and I've heard it from other people, is that you don't even think about food, and you can have to remind yourself that, oh, I should be eating now, or because this is my eating window or whatever. But a lot of times I don't even pay attention to that anymore. I just eat when I want to. For a lot of people who are looking to get into a ketogenic diet, I am pretty sure that the reason they are trying to get into it is because they want to lose weight, and they have heard other people's success stories. They see it blowing up on their social media, on their Instagram feed, wherever the case might be, Facebook. They're looking to get into it because a whole bunch of diets have failed them before. Whenever something gets popular, there are going to be people who are going to be very critical about it, and no matter if it works or not, they're going to find a way to put it down. Whenever you're looking to get into a ketogenic diet, do the research, how do I start? You're going to find a lot of criticism to go alongside with that, saying that this hasn't been around long enough and that it's only been around since 2015, 2016, but that's not true, seeing how this is based off the Atkins diet, which came around in the 1970s, and even that was based off of science that was 100 years ago. And it's actually the refined sugars and the growth of all these grains and things that we should not be having that has come on in the past 50 years or so. And which is why, as a society, as a country, as whatever you want to call it, we've been increasing in obesity, increasing in our rate of diabetes, while our health associations have been claiming that it is fat that is the problem. But there is a correlation between them saying that low-fat diets are the way to go and increase your carbs, and the fact that during that time we have steadily become more obese and higher rates of obesity, higher rates of heart disease, and all that. There's something wrong in that science. There's something wrong with those criticisms, because a lot of times if you just write keto in the title of your blog, you're going to get some traffic, because it is a very popular thing right now, and a lot of people are trying to hop on the wave. You're going to see a whole bunch of things on Amazon titled keto and low carb, a lot of things on video. I'm one of them. So there is something to be said that there is going to be positives and negatives, and it's not all good, it's not all bad. There's something to think about, that if somebody asked you, what would you do to lose 10 pounds in, let's say, 2 weeks, you're going to give them sort of the same information, sort of the same key points. Cut out the carbs, eat more greens, cut out the sugar. What else? Cut your calories, exercise a little bit more, stay away from the fatty foods. And that's just what we've been taught. That's what we intuitively know, that eating a lot of carbs, the breads, the pastas, the fries, the pizza doughs, and things like that are not the greatest for our weight. The problem is that when you start saying keto and low carb, then you kind of add this stigma to it, but it's what we do anyway. And even so, the reason why I say it's not that all that restrictive is because that if that's the general advice, cutting carbs, cutting calories, cutting fat foods, the advice for sticking to a ketogenic diet is just cutting out the carbs. It's nothing else other than that, right? You can keep the fatty foods, and you don't have to worry about cutting calories. So what is actually harder, or what is actually being too restrictive? I would argue that it is the traditional advice, and it is not the keto advice. When we're told to cut out the carbs and we're not looking to cut out calories, what has to go up, right? To counterbalance, something has to go up, and it's either protein or it's fat. And remember that fats are 9 calories per gram, while protein and carbs are only 4. So raising it the same amount of grams, you're going to actually be raising it twice as many calories. And that might sound like a bad thing, but it actually helps us, because to get your fats up to 70%, it's not actually adding a whole bunch of fats. It's not adding a whole stick of butter. It's not eating a slab of bacon a day. It's not going through a wheel of cheese a week. It has nothing to do with that. All you have to do is make small changes in your diet, and you will see that those numbers actually are very easy to reach your target. I don't personally do fat bombs. I don't believe in them. I don't do MCT oil. I don't put butter in my coffee or any of the bulletproof things. What being keto is taking out the carbs and replacing them with good healthy greens. And on the fat side, it's instead of going for chicken breast, go for the chicken thighs. Cook with some avocado oil or drizzle olive oil on top of a salad, and you'll find that you actually get to your target number quite fast, and it's not having to do too much, and it's not having to have grease come out your pores, because that's going to feel gross if you have too much fat. I'm not going to say eat all the fat that you want, because you shouldn't. You should still be within your calorie range. There's no debating that. You shouldn't be having 4,000 calories if you're not expending 4,000 calories worth. I believe that I got the points that I want to make out there. I hope I did explain a little bit why the ketogenic diet works. Some of the points are that you can go longer without eating, and it won't be on your mind as much because your body's running off its own fat instead of running off the carbs that you eat. So you don't have to be constantly eating to have constant energy. You are going to be fine going off your own fat stores, and you will have a constant supply of energy throughout the day. You won't go up and down after every meal. And the other reason is you don't have to count your calories. There's a reason why so many people fail on typical diets that just preach calories in, calories out, because whenever you change one, the other one will change with it, or your body will adapt to the new intake. So there's really minimal difference for you when you say eat less, work out more, because when you eat less, you will not be able to work out more, and when you work out more, you're going to want to eat more. So those differences are going to be very minimal in the long term, and you're setting yourself up for failure if that's the only thing that you're doing. We have to get down to the micro level and understand why we get fat, which is heavily based on insulin resistance, and some of the things that are happening in your body when you do eat the things that you eat, and mainly is going to be with the sugar and carbs and things that raise your insulin levels way too high. Fats and proteins do not increase your insulin levels, which help you maintain a lower body weight or correct a body weight that is too high. That is pretty much what I have for you. Hopefully I got all the information out. I have to look back on the tape and see if I did go through everything. This was a very simple video, just talking about a couple topics about why this works and how it can work long term. But to end this video off, thanks for watching. Now, if you want to learn more about how a low carb diet can help you with your weight loss and maintenance goals, consider subscribing, following my Instagram, or checking out my website at ketoistheworst.com, where I package this all in a nice little box and deliver it. I think it's a nice little box. But as I said before, if you are interested in joining me as I dig myself deeper into this hole, learning more about the science behind keto and how to make regular recipes, low carb recipes, and creating meal plans that will help me stick to this diet long term, feel free to grab a shovel, and I will see you next time. Ketogenic diet has been, what am I talking about?